What up, Sauce Gang, and welcome back to the channel. Hot Sauce Beats here with a banger reaction for you. The one and only Mark Rober just dropped a brand new video called Incredible Invention. This drone could change everything. I'm really excited to see what this new drone is and what Mark Rober is gonna say about it, because drones are absolutely amazing and I 100% think they're a thing of the future. So I'm beyond hyped for this, but before we jump into it, show Mark Rober some love by subscribing to his channel. And if you enjoy my reaction, smash that subscribe button because it greatly helps. But enough talking, let's get to reacting and roll that bomb-ass intro.
Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Eat, sleep, make beats. Eat, sleep, make beats.
Hot Sauce Beats. Oh, it's time for some Mark Rober play.
I got my finger making lunch, so I placed an order for some Band-Aids a couple minutes ago, and now they're 4 seconds away. That is a nearly silent drone system that can deliver a package from the sky right to my backyard in as little as
Oh, the drone's up in the sky and it's dropping that thing.
2 minutes with dinner plate accuracy. And as far as I'm concerned,
it's like a SWAT team rappelling down.
This is the very near future of package delivery from a company called Zipline. It's been over a decade since we were first promised drone delivery that looked like this.
That looks
and to be honest,
terrifying.
I was never that stoked about it because I couldn't imagine.
Just imagine just literally that thing just right in your face and chopping up your eyeballs, dude.
Imagine that anyone would actually want something that big and loud with dangerously fast spinning propellers landing anywhere near their house. And that was a bummer, because with the explosion of people using Amazon or food delivery apps like DoorDash or Instacart, billions of doorstep deliveries are now happening every year. But when your lunch only weighs a few ounces, driving it to everyone with these 2-ton gas-powered vehicles is wildly inefficient, bad for the whole planet, and not to mention just really slow. Drone delivery would not only take a lot of cars off the road, but it would be a lot faster than a car. It would be fully electric, fully autonomous, and it would cost pennies.
Dude, that is so cool. The fact that this thing is like rappelling down is insane.
Worth of energy per delivery. And with Zipline, because the droid that lowers the package can move laterally in any direction, it can make a dartboard-sized precision landing even in high winds, while the main drone can stay 400 feet up in the sky, making the whole thing whisper quiet. That is very quiet. Also due in part to the clever design of these really funky propellers. As you all know, I only make about 10 videos a year, and while most are just sort of ridiculous,
all of them, Mark.
I like to dedicate one video to showcase how clever people are using engineering to change the world for the better. And to be clear, the company I'm talking about today is not sponsoring this or paying me in any way. I'm just really impressed by the work that they're doing and how they're doing it. So we'll circle back in a minute to exactly how they're going to pull off deliveries using these short-range drones in a city. But it begs the question, if they can make it work there, why not use gliding drones to cover longer distances to deliver critical medical supplies for countries with lots of remote villages?
That's a great idea.
Catapulting life-saving blood through the skies is what they've already been doing for over 6 years, which is why we need to head out to Rwanda to understand where this all started. And immediately after showing up, we were right in the thick of it as drones were taking off and landing as another one lands every 90 seconds. They're coming from everywhere. And as a newcomer, it felt a bit
that
chaotic,
is so cool.
But if you're gonna rack up 40 million miles worth of drone flights, your team needs to be operating with the efficiency of an F1 pit crew. So here's a crash course on how it all works.
That is insane, bro. It's literally just this slingshot. And I'm guessing it looks like roughly kind of the same technology it's using for when it's land is how a plane an aircraft, a jet lands on an aircraft carrier. Same thing. It looks like it hits this cable and it just and stops it back down.
An order coming in from a doctor at a hospital, say for example for an emergency supply of blood.
I didn't even think about the fact it could do what it could do with medical supplies.
And then the whole thing is placed on the launcher. At that point, they attach the wings, then secure the battery, followed by the nose cone. Then after some pre-flight safety checks, they launch the drone, all within 90 seconds of the order coming in. The catapult launcher takes the drone from 0 to 65 miles an hour in a third of a second, which is literally less time than it takes you to blink. And it's a pretty clever design too, because
Hold on. Negative! Ain't no way, right? That's not even that's a millisecond. It's a millisecond, dude.
The drone immediately
quick
starts
blinker.
at its cruising speed, where it takes much
I'm an
less
idiot. I know.
energy to stay airborne. And once it's in the air, cruising at 70 miles per hour, it navigates its way to the hospital,
Dude,
and
this
upon
is so
arriving,
cool.
opens the trap door to drop the package, which lands safely using a parachute. Having now completed the mission, it continues making all its own decisions to autonomously navigate back home from as far away as 150 miles round trip. Then taking inspiration from an aircraft carrier, as the drone approaches, the military-grade GPS broadcasts its
People are
position
so
with
smart.
1 centimeter.
We're so
these
smart.
two poles
Yeah,
know
look at this, look at this.
exactly when to swing up at the
See,
last
it's got that
possible
cable.
moment, snagging a hook on the tail with the cable,
See?
which safely slows
Literally
it down.
just like
Then
what
once it's settled to a
aircraft
stop,
carriers do.
The crew comes in to remove the battery and wings, and it all goes back into rotation.
Wow.
The whole thing is really impressive and incredibly robust, which means it works in pretty much any weather. And because there's no human steering it, it has no issues flying at night. So they run the operation 24 hours a day, which is how in 6 years, they've managed to make those 500,000 often life-saving deliveries. That is the uppermost.
Bro, 100%. This is definitely a thing in the future. Like, I can see every city having this. Every city.
Top of the iceberg tip of how they're doing what they're doing. But what you should know is 6 years ago, all the experts told them this was a hopeless cause and failure was a near certainty, and they kind of weren't wrong.
Building an engineering product takes time. So you prototype, you build it, and then you fail, and then you try it again, and you fail, and you try it again until you have the shiny product that you want. This is a different type of aircraft. This is not what we had. The first one used to land on these inflated mattresses. The vehicle had a hook on the back. You had a tail.
Yeah.
The tail would deploy like an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And then the fishing pole would
I
pull
already
it.
said it!
And it would land on
I
the
already
mattress.
said it!
First of
Just
all,
like an
he's not
aircraft
saying that
carrier.
figuratively. They were scrappy in the early days, using actual fishing poles, as you can see here. And secondly, this is Abdul. And what you should know about Abdul is he grew
Actual
up in
fishing
Rwanda,
poles.
not far from where these drones are launching. And while he would eventually go on to do graduate work in robotics, attending both Stanford and Harvard, he got his start in engineering for much more simple means.
I remember that I would make cars from milk boxes that was
bro,
left
that's
over.
so
We
cool.
would add tires there and use it as a
I
car.
love when
Abdul
Mark
was
Rober makes
orphaned as
videos
a
like this,
child when
man.
He lost both of his parents.
I mean, there's just like this dude. I mean, people deserve the spotlight for this. I mean, this guy could literally potentially be changing the future, you know? And I've never heard of this zipline company. None of this, dude. I love that Mark Rober shines a spotlight on something like this.
And all 3 of his siblings in the Rwandan genocide, narrowly escaping himself. But he didn't give up on his passion for engineering, and so as he got older, he would go around to all the local hospitals fixing their MRI machines for free using knowledge he gained from watching YouTube videos.
What?
Abdul was the very first zipline employee in Rwanda, and he really helped to pioneer so many of the systems they have in place today that are now used all over the world. And so in an effort to test those very systems, I wanted to see if it was robust enough that even a total noob like me could send out an order. Oh, we got one. Panic!
Don't worry.
Don't worry, okay. Gloves, okay. Good enough. This is where the blood is, right?
Opposite.
It's O positive.
Yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't be touching this. Stay calm, that's the number
He's
one
like,
rule.
I don't know. There's a
Scan
chance I could break this.
Wraps.
Like this? 5, okay.
Bro, I can't even fathom just how much money this company's charging too. Like, dude, this is hands down. This is a multi-billion dollar business, or will be. Like, this is gonna change so much. This is absolutely
Just out here
insane.
saving lives. And once I ring the bell, it's the drone team's problem. Okay, what do I do?
Check if it's not tangled.
And push it here. Out of my way, I'm coming through. The wings, how's that? Battery, which one do we pick? There's so many. So after a final check of the drone's condition, a little bit of a look to the right and cough. We had liftoff.
Dude, I love the launch.
We did
The
it.
launch is so cool.
I just like saved the life, basically.
I'm kind of a big deal. I'm kind of a big
All
deal.
day long. So now that I had a pretty good feel for the launch site, we headed out to see where some of these drones were actually flying to. So we left the launch site like 3.5 hours ago. We're driving to this remote hospital on these really windy roads. And as we've been driving, we've been tracking and seeing some of these zipline drones delivering blood and medical supplies to this hospital. So since we're about a half hour out, I thought it would be fun to place my own emergency order. Then it could meet us when we get there because when you need extra ointment, you just need extra ointment. And sure enough, a few minutes after arriving, I got a notification for an incoming package. This is wild because we're like 4 hours away on some really windy roads. I got it!
Is he gonna catch it? Is he gonna catch it? Imagine it just like bounces right off his head and knocks him down, dude.
So close. And so after
Dude,
opening
that
the
is so
package and checking
crazy.
their handiwork, I asked if I could speak to a few of the doctors. When's the last time you delivered a baby?
In few minutes ago.
A few minutes ago.
Hold on, I gotta
That's
wash
pretty
my hands. I
fast.
just got done.
For doctors, it was like a miracle.
With Zipline, we are sure that in
And dude, just remember what he said earlier. People told this company it was guaranteed failure. Apply this to stuff in your life. Just because someone tells you you can't do something, use it as motivation. Be persistent. Have that can-do mindset. I love this, dude.
15 to 20 minutes, we are going to get what we need. And you are sure that patient will be saved.
That's
But
so
it wasn't
amazing.
just the doctors who were big on Zipline. I also spoke with a handful of patients who, for various different reasons, are all alive today because of a Zipline delivery.
Every time when I see the
amazing.
drones around, I just think that someone's life is going to be saved.
And that's kind of true, because their drones have reduced in-hospital maternal mortality by 88%. Zipline has 2 launch sites that give them coverage for pretty much anywhere in Rwanda, but they also have operations running in all of these countries.
Oh, the
And while
US
they
has
serve
some?
3,000 hospitals globally today, that number will be 10,000 by the end of the year. All right, so we've covered their long-range country delivery drones, which means we've now got the context to talk about their short-range city delivery drones. But first, I just have to interject here and say I was blown away by Rwanda as a country. I mean, right out of the gate, their stoplights are really cool because they're just countdowns till the light turns green. They can balance and carry pretty much anything on their heads, and there's motorcycle taxis everywhere. And given that win in Rwanda,
I don't want
we
no
do as the
motorcycle
Rwandans
taxi.
do, whenever possible, that's how we got around ourselves.
What a freaking booze.
Everyone was also super friendly everywhere we went.
That's
well,
so
not
awesome.
everyone, because if you stop to play soccer with some random kids,
You're about to get your butt whooped at soccer.
just know they're not going to take it easy on you. Besides the fact that Messi seems to like it, before
juked him
traveling
out,
there, the
bro.
only real thing I knew about Rwanda was the Rwanda genocide that took place about 30 years ago. And while there are still plenty of battle scars, as horrific as that was, it sort of galvanized the country into a period of healing and solidarity as a single Rwandan people instead of divisive ethnic groups. For example, on the last Saturday of the month, literally everyone spends the day picking up trash and volunteering in their local communities. And that's one of the reasons you hardly see litter anywhere. The other one being 15 years
amazing.
ago, they were one of the first countries to ban all single-use plastics. There was just a pervasive optimism in the air. Everyone was moving with the purpose everywhere we went. Not just working hard, but working smart with their resources on hand.
Yeah, buddy.
Including their improvised soccer balls. For over a decade, attending school up to age 16 has been both mandatory and
sometimes you just
free.
gotta catch
and when
a
you
ride,
combine that
fam.
with leapfrogging to new technologies like drone delivery, for the last decade, their economy has been growing at 4 times the rate of the US economy, while their violent crime rate has been 15 times less than the US. And finally, the most awe-inducing part of the whole trip was when I
Bro.
hiked to see an entire family of mountain gorillas up close in the wild, which was equal parts adorable and terrifying.
I was about to say, yeah, bro.
Mountain gorillas only exist
You're
in
just
these
looking
2
at like-
tiny red regions. And while there's only 1,000 left in the world, I got to just chill with 20 of them. They're critically endangered, but thanks to Rwandan conservation efforts funded by people paying for brief visits like this, their numbers have climbed by 200 over the past decade. All
yeah.
that's to say that besides, of course, my own country, Rwanda is my new 2nd favorite country.
Aw.
And next time I go back, I'm bringing a bunch of soccer balls,
Oh, yeah.
which I will give
And you're
away
gonna
to
get your
any
butt
kid
whooped some
who just
more.
promises not to embarrass me. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more about these new short-range city drones. Because for the 4 billion doorstep deliveries that will happen this year in the US, and that number doesn't even include Amazon, by the way, why not at least try and take some of those slow-moving,
Doesn't even
traffic-causing,
include
two-ton
Amazon.
gas-guzzling cars off the road in exchange for a much faster delivery that's also electric, autonomous, really quiet, and zero emissions. And while their solution of dropping down a droid
so
that can
cool, bro. I'm
perfectly
so
control
amazed
its
by that
landing from
thing.
super high up seemed promising and way better than something like this that had been proposed before, when they first told me about it, I had 2 main questions. One, how loud and disruptive are they? Because the last thing we want are annoying drones buzzing by our rooftops.
Okay, it's a lot quieter than that.
And 2, how safe are they? Because the other last thing we want is for those same annoying drones to start falling down on us from the sky. I also had a bonus third question around how a business is even supposed to load in their items for delivery. And so in a search for answers, I went right to their headquarters, not that far down the road from where I live. And the first thing you notice in the lobby is this really cool projection that not only shows the total number of flights they've flown, now at over 500,000, but it also shows all the long-range drones they have in the air at that exact moment, delivering those critical medical supplies all around the world. And this isn't now just where they design and build all their drones, it's also where they do a lot of their testing. And they test pretty much everything in every way possible before getting it out to the field as quickly as possible. And according to their CEO Keller, this is something they discovered early on.
Our key insight was we were dumb. And we basically always assumed we were dumb, and for that reason, when we designed things, we got them into the real world super fast and learned by serving real people. And you learn so much that you can't learn in a lab or in an ivory tower.
And so before we actually hear just how quiet these things are, I just want to echo that all the best engineers I've ever known have had that same level of humility, knowing there's no better way to learn than to test and to break stuff.
100%.
That's why I named the
don't get it twisted. That is how you learn. Failure. You mess up, you grow from failure. If you never fail, you can never grow because you grow from your failure. 100%.
The company I started that has the express goal of teaching kids to think like engineers, Crunch Labs. It's because things are supposed to crunch and to break and to fail along the way. And so if I could get them to do more than just passively watch a video by building something alongside
this is where the passion for being an engineer
starts. What's going on, then I know the principles will really sink in. So if you want to have a ton of fun while building up that resiliency in your brain like a muscle, just head to crunchlabs.com or use the link in the video description.
I got hiccups.
All right, so to answer my first question on the noise level, I'll just show you my actual reaction to the first time I heard it. I mean, I hear something. I cannot believe that's airborne. Are you serious? And I just wish there was a better way to convey this on video, but here's my best attempt. You'll first hear a leaf blower, then a typical hobby drone that weighs 1 pound, then their drone that weighs 50 pounds. And of course, I kept the audio levels completely untouched for all 3. That is whisper quiet.
Dude, you can barely even hear it.
Very quiet.
You could almost...
That cow is way louder.
But you can also like hear the wind over it.
I bet the mic picked up that cow. And this test was incredibly surprising to me because I sort of just assumed the weight of a thing would exactly determine how loud the propellers will end up being to keep that thing in the air. But it turns out that's not actually true even if you just look at nature. Pigeons, for example, sound like this. But with owls, there's an evolutionary pressure to be as quiet as possible, and as a result, their flight sounds like this. For this reason, to crack the code, Zipline actually did turn to nature.
I study the hummingbird a lot.
Even hear that.
They have the worst case. They're tiny and they're really quiet. They just like hover there. You barely hear them.
By the way, that's Keenan. He's another Zipline co-founder, and for you robotics nerds, he's the dude who invented ROS, which is the open source software used by basically anyone who wants to build anything robotic.
Wow.
So remember to try and visualize the secret of their quiet
propeller.
propellers. In this graph, the area under the curve could represent the energy from one of those annoying high-pitched hobby drones, where the closest of these spikes is the high frequency that's just sort of grating on your ears. So after studying the hummingbird and designing really wild-looking rotors like this, Zipline figured out how to take those spikes and flatten them all out. So while the extra weight means there's still more energy or area under the curve, getting rid of all the spikes means it's much more of a constant whooshing.
I wonder if it's because normally the propellers are, you know, like it looks like it's because they shortened the space in between the propellers. I'm wondering if that's why it's more
white
quiet.
Noise that your brain just sort of
propellers are crazy looking
though. They use the same quiet propeller approach for their long-range drones. As you can tell from this doctor with an impeccable taste in YouTube content who just wanted to say hi. You've seen my videos, now you get to be in one. Have you seen the planes fly over and
I'm in a Mark Rober video!
I have not yet seen one come and deposit something here.
That's amazing. There was just 15 deliveries in the last hour.
They're really quiet.
That's so crazy,
I would have heard it, I would have, you know, We're going to see it.
For my second question regarding safety, just like when sending something to Mars, all their critical systems have backups on board. In engineering, we call this redundancy, and they even demonstrated for us how if one propeller stops working, it could still fly due in part to the large back propeller that picks up the slack. And that back propeller is pretty clever, by the way, because it's what propels the drone forward as it moves across town, but then it turns down 90 degrees to help steer and create extra lift while it's stationary and dropping down the droid. In addition to the redundancy, a whole aircraft
I love stuff like this. Like, I am definitely a nerd at heart, and I love seeing stuff like this. I love seeing evolution of science and robotics and engineering, and there's just so much that we can do to make the world a better place and save lives and make stuff more efficient and better for the environment. I love it.
Parachute is automatically deployed if there's a problem that's sensed or if the drone just loses power altogether. And because of their painstaking engineering efforts, it's worth noting in the 6 years they've been operating for those 500,000 flights, they've had exactly 0 incidents causing any injury. As for my third bonus question around how the drones get loaded up, in the most simple case, something like a grocery store could reserve some parking spots as a loading zone. Or as one of the zipline engineers told me,
you can take a window from your local pharmacy and turn it into this portal.
So the droid would come down the chute, then some ASAP items like these would get loaded inside, then it goes back up the chute, into the drone, and off for delivery. For healthcare, if you were really sick and say on a 15-minute video call with your doctor, by the time the call was ending, your medications could be on your back porch so you don't have to leave your house.
Bro, these things are gonna be everywhere. The whole sky is just gonna be full of these freaking drones, dude. Dude, this is
with
insane.
A distribution center or a large retail store. More than 90% of people in the US live within 10 miles of a large retail store, and zipline drones conveniently can make a 10-mile round trip while carrying up to 8 pounds. An additional win for the planet here is you don't need to use all the cardboard to box it up because it doesn't have to survive being shipped out on a big truck. But this isn't just for big stores.
Or even
your favorite
saving
local
on
shop
like
or restaurant
trees,
can
dude.
now more easily afford to send a thing to your door, but at an ostensibly much lower cost than a person driving a 3,000-pound car to drop it off. And as soon as by the end of this year, customers such as Sweet Green will start delivering salads straight to your backyard. And not having packages left on front porches is the worst news for the porch pirate community since the invention.
Man, we don't gotta worry about them glitter bombs anymore.
No, the glitter bomb.
All right, we f***ing get it, okay.
Alright, so if your mind isn't already blown, let me try one final time. I'm planting a seed for something we might see much further in the future. And to be clear, this is not at all from Zipline. It's just an idea that won't leave my head after seeing all this, because it stands to reason if the system can work for packages, it should be able to work for humans, right? In other words, imagine a bigger drone, let's say it's an ambulance, with more powerful but equally quiet propellers parked so high up in the sky you can hardly see it. Then it lowers the entire cockpit like the droid, which could quietly touch down in your driveway. So you hop in or they put you in on the ground, then it reels you in so you can glide above roads and traffic straight to your destination, only to be dropped off safely in the same manner. Alright, so finally, I just want to wrap up with the coolest part of all of this by far. The whole time we were there, kids would be lined up at the fence to watch the drones be launched and captured over and over. In fact, one kid came up specifically wanting to show Abdul what he'd built completely on his own. And in that moment, it was impossible not to compare the complexity of this build to the simple milk carton version Abdul grew up making. Because here you have Abdul, who bears a scar on his head from the same machete that killed his entire family as a child, not only using his engineering knowledge to save the lives of his people, but more importantly, to inspire the next generation of problem solvers to dream even bigger. It's the type of thing that leaves you feeling a little bit of that contagious Rwandan optimism for the future and the incredible potential of us mere humans.
Let's go! We sub, bro. Come on, let me bring you in, Sauce Gang. Dude, this was amazing. Again, I love that he puts a spotlight on stuff like this. I've never heard of this. Have any of you guys ever heard of this or seen this? I think we all know and knew drones are a thing in the future, just like, you know, VR 100% is, but I think it's just so cool with the whole rappelling thing, because the thing I always in my head couldn't wrap around, you know, drones like actually working. It's just the fact you have all these things flying and changing elevation. going into people's backyards where people are walking and stuff. Like, I know you have safety measures against it, but I just didn't see how it would be practical. But I never thought about it staying up in the sky and then lowering the body down. I just think that's genius. And there's just so much potential again with, you know, it delivering medication or, you know, body parts or blood or whatever. And then, yeah, and then you give it the Amazon deliveries, you know, the Grubhub and, you know, food deliveries. I mean, billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. And then you got less, like he said, less cars on the roads, less gas being used, traffic getting better, you know, less boxes being used, so less trees get, dude, I mean, there's 100%, this is a win-win-win. Amazing video. I love this. Truly, almost even inspired by this video. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. Make sure you show Mark Rober some love by subscribing to his channel. And if you enjoyed my reaction, please help support the channel by smashing that subscribe and like button. It's absolutely free and it greatly helps out the channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, it's eat, sleep, and make beats. And as usual, be kind of one another. That's all I got. Boom, I'm out. Got my love for the sauce gang. Peace out, sauce.